Peter has in his shop a mid-50s Streamliner, Gravette Streamliner, viewers, and he'll talk a little bit about that boat for us.
This is one of the later Gravette Streamliners. Big, beamy, nice running boats. It was totally original, running, working, with its original 95 horse 6-cylinder motor. They were a little bit underpowered. But it was a good boat in good shape. The bottom was tired, and it really needed some TLC. The only wood we changed was this plank on each side. Somebody tried to get it into a boathouse that was too narrow one day.
Oh,
wrecked
okay.
these two planks.
Okay.
And they had been replaced. We don't know when, 30 or 40 years ago, they've been replaced with Luan mahogany, the stuff they make door trims out of.
Oh, for goodness sake.
And kind of lathered up with stain and varnish. They look pretty awful, so that's the only two boards we changed.
Right.
Everything else in the boat's original. Now it's got, below the waterline, it's got new frames and a new bottom. As I said before, here everyone does their own boat. So Tyler started this a year and a half ago. That's Tyler right there. He lays the keel, he puts the bottom on it. He does all the stain, varnish, rigging, all the hardware we just sent out to the chrome shop last week. It's all fit and rigged. Wow. And as you come, if you swing around here, Tyler will explain what he's doing inside there now.
Okay. While I'm focusing in on Tyler, is it a double planked hull?
No.
Single plank
hull. Same way, as I say, we build boats the same way they build them.
Okay.
It's a frame boat with single planks. Now
Okay.
we make our frames a little heavier. We tie them to the keel. Our engine full-length motor bed stringers catch every frame, not just the main frames every 2 feet.
Yes.
So every frame is supported.
Right.
Every frame is supported in 5 places.
So it's a stronger boat than it was.
Because this, you got to remember, this worked for 60 or 70 years with a 95 horse 6. It now has a 340 horsepower V8 in it.
Wow. The frame will still support that extra weight and the power?
Oh, absolutely. With these, with a stiffened up bottom.
Right.
But we don't change anything. We true it up, take the hook out of it, make it safe and run safely. We put lifting strakes on them so that the nose won't jump in a wave and dig in.
Okay.
We do a few things that we've learned over the years that make them perform properly with the higher horsepower engines.
Right. Okay.
But this fit in, it's actually, they had a big ugly panel on the one side that hid part of the carburetor that you had to watch you didn't hit your knee on. This engine fit in and we were able to remove that panel.
Wow.
It actually fit better than the 6, believe it or not.
Isn't that amazing? Weight-wise, would it be a lot heavier than the 6?
Not a great deal.
No, not enough.
250. 250 pounds more.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's not that significant. This is a 22-footer, isn't it?
22-foot.
22-footer.
And again, everything was on it. It was a nice boat that had been used forever.
And Tyler's been working on...
Right now, it's just replacing the gear shifter. It was the only thing that was replaced over the years. They had a newer, modern gear shifter that they had put in. We're replacing it with a proper shifter from the age.
From the period, eh? Yeah. Wow. And did that have to be fabricated from scratch, Tyler, or is it you able to take a mold from somewhere to reproduce that or to produce it? Yeah. Okay. Wow.
It's an exact, we have different originals. That's an exact copy cast off the original.
I see. Okay. Wow, it's another great project.
And again, what you got to remember is Gravette did not make that gear shift. Gravette bought it from a parts supplier of the day.
Right.
So that same gear shift was used in whoever wanted to buy it from the parts supplier.
Sure, sure. Well, good luck with this project, too. This is another major undertaking. Very iconic boat, Gravette Streamliner. We're looking here, viewers, at Mitch, who's in the process of stripping down a Gravette Gentleman's Racer. Big job.
We're back in Mitch's room now, and what everyone here does their boat start to finish, and it's their boat. When the boat comes back in 3 years or 10 years or 12 years, then then it's Mitch's boat. So this is an older restoration. It's been kept running and going forever. So this is kind of a fix-up job. We fix this, fix that. It had a V8 engine installed in it 30 years ago.
Wow.
It's kind of getting wore out. So we've also put a new Merc 340 horse V8 in this.
Wow.
and fitted it in. When reworked it so there's more leg room now. The old 6-cylinder engine, you can hardly get your legs in.
Yes.
We'll just adjust it and get the most leg room we can. We freshened up the dash, put new gauges in it. We're going to change the hot rod steering wheel somebody put in along the way. Just a freshen up job. Mitch is stripping the inner part of the deck now. We're going to two-tone it.
Right.
It's the last Gravette Gentleman's Racer made. I believe it was made sometime in the mid-60s.
Wow. Isn't that something?
And it's a big, beamy boat.
It sure is.
So this two-toned it will bring it down a little bit and just make it look a little bit prettier.
Right. It's a pretty flat hull by look of it too, Peter. It would be a pretty bouncy boat, I presume. It almost reminds me of a Shepherd in terms of its...
no, it's actually it's a very nice running boat.
It is,
it's quite a sharp V at the front.
Oh, okay.
And flat at the back.
Right. So
it was always a wide boat. It always sprayed at the back. So we'd build a cavitation plate. Because in a short boat like this, the rudder's behind the boat.
Right.
And it creates a little bit of spray and turbulence, which is always a problem in these gentlemen's racers.
Yes.
So to fix this up, we made a pattern and cast a cavitation plate.
Wow.
That'll make it run clean and get the water behind.
Yes.
We're going to put a little bit bigger exhaust pipes in it to get the stuff away a little bit.
So
just freshen it up. It's always been a good running, using boat. You can see the patterns for the exhaust have all been made, and the exhaust are out at the welding shop now.
Right.
Those are the wooden patterns we make to form our pipes.
Viewers, Peter was saying he's not too crazy about this kind of a fitting because of the sharp end.
I've owned many Gravettes, and as you can see, Mitch, he's got holes in his hand from hitting that one over there. These things, they send them out of the factory. They're sharp like a knife.
Yeah.
If you're shamming the boat and hit yourself, I mean, for years on the Jeffrey when I owned it, wow, the thing would drive me crazy. Finally, one year I took them off, ground it round, and had them chromed again.
Right.
Because they're just deadly from the Gravette plant.
Yeah.
That's
very attractive looking, but that's the disadvantage of them, I guess.
Well, when you're around that end, you can't tell the difference. It's just, it's not practical. It's like having a needle on the end of every.
Yes, sure.
And when you're shamming, you keep hitting it.
Right. So this Gravette will be finished in the spring, by the look of it. Or summer.
No, this is coming out of the shop and it'll be finished next spring.
Next spring, okay.
The guy's getting his boathouse done. He's only got room for 2 boats this winter.
Right.
This summer, and so his boathouse is full. So this we just put in as a bit of a filler. Work on it for a couple months. In a month, when the deck's colored and there's varnish on it, then it'll go in the back room and cure for a year. So that when it leaves, the varnish will be good for 6-7 years before it has to come back.
So varnish should be cured before it's exposed to water and light?
Well, in 3 years, if you do a boat quickly, any new wood, if you do your coffee table, if you stain it, varnish it, and make it perfect, it doesn't matter how many coats you put on it, in 3 years you'll see the grain. It'll come out. It'll shrink. So you have to cure it. Now, if we can roll this out in the sun in the summer a few times with varnish and stain on it, that'll be cured hard as a stone in a year. Then we'll finish it. It won't come back here for varnish for 6 or 7 years.
Interesting.
Instead of the first time, you got to varnish them in about 3 years.
Wow.
If you put a boat in.
For goodness sake, I had no idea.
But if we cure it and do it over an extra summer, we get boats that don't come back for 7 or 8, even 9 years.
Wow.
It makes that much difference.
Isn't that something? We'll get viewers. We'll get Peter to give us some details on this beautiful watercraft as well.
This is a tried and proven Rainbow 4, one of Harry Greening's big gentleman's racers ones. We've done several of them. They're just a fabulous big rough water boat. So with my own boats, it's only about 15 or 20% of the business. One of a kind. We build one boat, one way, one time. So this is actually number 16 of the boats I built. Wow. So this is all basic. It's all ditch burn designs and stylists, all blended together the way we like.
Okay.
It's a Rainbow 3 hull. Now the bottom's trued and adjusted to run with today's high-speed engines. This has a 625 horsepower hand-built Entech racing engine in it.
My goodness.
This thing will go. Wow. So the hulls are adjusted, but it's the same shape, width, beam.
Yes.
Everything above the waterline is the same hull that Harold Greening designed in the 20s.
Yes. It looks like a displacement hull, but it's obviously not. Or
no, that's just because of the length of them.
Yes.
This is a boat. This customer actually has my signature on my boats as my Indian. So this has the 2nd generation Breen Indian. The cutwater's not back in the chrome shop yet. But there's the new race boat Indian, low profile.
Wow. Beautiful.
And that all matches, blends into the cutwater.
Right.
Perfectly.
Beautiful.
You have to do it separate of the cutwater, they can't comb it from.
Of course.
So each boat that we do our own are all custom boats. Done to suit the customer. He picks the hardware. I'll go down here.
This would be, the length on this, Peter, would be,
This is 28 feet overall.
28
It has
footer.
an outboard rudder. This is cable and quadrant steering. Real trick race boat steering, which is what they did in the early 20s.
wow.
This is, if you step up on the stool here, you'll see it's gonna cover the carburetor a bit. But there's a nice, simple, hand-built Entech racing engines. That dyno to just under 625 horsepower.
Holy smoke. And the cruising speed on this boat would be probably over
These-
40 miles an hour?
Oh yeah, these things just love 50, 55 miles an hour.
Wow.
And they'll run way more than that. And one of the tricks of these is the angle of attack. In a 28-foot, 27-foot boat, this pan's only half an inch off the keel.
Holy smoke.
And the propeller's outboard of the transom, under the cavitation plate. So your angle of attack's down in the 4-degree range, so you're not losing any. The shorter the boat, the more power you lose because you're driving them.
Of course.
So these are real beautiful running boats. Balanced. They reach out over waves. The upholstery's all done and finished in the back room.
Wow.
It's ready to bolt in.
You've got enough freeboard on this boat to keep it quite dry too, obviously.
Well, this will take any water. These are like a little cigarette. They're like a little offshore boat. They'll
Yes.
go through anything.
Wow. Where is this boat headed for when it's completed?
This is going up to Lake Rossel,
Rossel, okay.
top end of Rossel.
Wow. Spectacular.
And this is custom built for a customer who just ordered it. And as I say, we never do two boats the same, so each picked all his way through, each picked seats and different things like the Indian. This is the first one of those that anyone's ever done.
Yes.
This also has cable and quadrant steering, which is real. When you come around to the back, you'll kind of see
Pardon my ignorance about cable and quadrant steering.
rope and pulley.
Oh, I see.
It's not
Okay.
mechanical. It's,
Okay,
it's
gotcha.
how the old race boats and
Right.
stuff were done.
Right,
The
okay.
cables would all come up through a cable steering system, and pulleys, they run to an outboard rudder. I'll show you here when I find it. There's the upholstery we've got back.
Very nice.
Shows a nice dark brown, and then it's all real canvas back, so they breathe.
Right. Well, that's a beautiful, beautiful boat.
Here's all the hardware here, but I'll show you what I mean. There's the cable and quadrant steering, so if you swing around to the back here, again, these are like tail dragger airplanes. The rudder, the propeller is actually right on the transom. The propeller's right back here, right on the transom.
Wow.
The rudder's behind, way behind. Drags back 14 inches.
And that
And
probably
then there's
makes...
your cable and quadrant steering.
Okay.
So
yes.
this works in the big blocks in the deck, and it's all done with aircraft cable.
Right. Gotcha. And the fact that the rudder's to the stern of the boat, does that help?
Makes the boat more safer at high speed.
Okay. Because you're not dealing with so much prop wash?
No, it just being able to get the drive line down to a low 4.5 degree angle means all your power is being pushed ahead instead of pushing up.
Okay.
So it's not trying to lift the transom.
Yes.
And the propeller, the further back you can get it's just like when you're getting up in a water ski, you drag your foot behind you to give you stability.
Okay.
The further back you can get the rudder in the boat, the more stable the boat is.
Okay. Makes sense. Well, this is a beautiful piece of workmanship. Congratulations, Peter. And thank you very much for the
Here's all
tour this
over
morning.
here you'll see all the hardware. So every piece you see on the desk there, we made patterns for and made.
My goodness.
None of that's old. The only thing old is the steering wheel. That's an old 1920s car wheel. We made a second generation step pad. This is a red bottom, so we put red name in it.
Right. Wow.
And then there's trim rings that fit in these.
Isn't that something?
So every boat we do different. Every single piece here you see we made. We made the glass for the light. Made the light and the glass
Isn't
in
that
it.
something?
We cast and machine and make every piece of our own metal.
My goodness. And who does the glass work for you?
I do these. That's actually not glass.
It's
real high-end urethane.
okay.
They use it in airplanes. So we make molds and pour our own.
Wow.
But when you're done, this particular one, you can see all the chips in the original glass that we copied.
Right.
The chips are in the mold.
For goodness sake.
So this one,
You could have fooled me. I could have sworn that
you
was
can't
glass.
tell it's not glass.
No,
We
you
make
certainly
everything
can't.
from stern lights and globes
Yeah.
to...
Well, congratulations. You have a wonderful shop.
There's a half-mile ray spotlight. We even have this glass custom made. A foundry in New York does these.
My
ones.
goodness.
That's heat-treated safety glass curved. It's really took me 20 years to figure out how to do that.
Wow.
So slowly over the years, each boat's taught us something. And
Yes, sure. Well, congratulations on all your hard work, and we know you're a premier restorer. That's for sure. Anybody who gets a boat from Peter Breen knows they've got the best. Thanks so much for your tour this morning, Peter. It's been a treat to be here.
You're welcome.
And all the best. Are you viewers? We're looking at a Billy Johnson boat. This was a real shock to me to find out when this boat was made.
This boat, I'm not sure how late he built boats. This boat was built in 37 and 38. And then with the war effort, it was sold, but they never put an engine in it and never finished the deal. After the war, it was powered and sold to another customer. So it was actually delivered in 46, but it was built in 37 and 38.
For goodness sake.
So this is a W.J. Johnson, real rare boat, a big triple cockpit, almost 24 feet, powered with a Chrysler Crown, back then probably 110 or 15 horsepower.
That's the original engine, obviously.
Yep, that's the original. And it still ran. It came in under its own power. But
goodness
the
sake.
bottom is really tired. If you look through this side, you can see light through the side. Getting pretty bad.
Yes, you mentioned that this boat had just come in, Peter, I believe.
This just came in the door. So this is going to have the same thing done to it as the boat, the Gravette in the back of it. It'll have new bottom, all framed up solid and sound. A modern V8, something with some power, reliable. Other than that, everything's on it. It's got the only thing that was changed over the years that's wrong is the spotlights. Kind of Mickey Mouse and it's the wrong light.
Okay.
But every piece of hardware and cleat, every single thing's on the boat. Nothing's missing from the gear shift or the throttle or the pull-up fenders.
Wow.
All the hatches, everything's all totally original.
Would this have been in the same family, do you think, for the...
This was in the same family for many, many years.
Yes.
It was from a thing called Hope Island. And I know that family owned it for many years, not all its life. But And then there's how they built boats. So there's a Billy Johnson. You got to remember these guys, even a lot of the ditch burners, only at the end did he cast his own parts. He casted chocks and fender cleats. They bought most of it.
Sure.
There's the same store-bought rudder that Ditchburn bought for his boats.
For goodness sake.
And it was too small. It never worked. So they bolted a piece of metal on it. It's got bent in transit now. To make the rudder work, they put a piece of metal on it and extended it. That's how the boat ran for 60 years,
Yes.
70 years.
For goodness sake.
And that's how they built boats.
Yes.
So now what we will do, this original rudder will go back on, but we'll have a proper piece welded in that blends in and fits the rudder and have it chromed. But now underneath the chrome's all peeled and somebody's painted this. It would have been nickel plated probably underneath it all,
Okay.
which doesn't stand up too well.
Right.
But that's how boats are. They've been used and worked and fixed and patched over the years.
Sure.
So there's lots of things in this boat that'll need attention.
Beautiful lines on this boat.
This is
a gorgeous
rare
boat.
very pretty boat.
Yeah.
Nice big boat, nice riding boat.
Yes. And this is probably a project that will take a year and a half, 2 years?
It's a year and a half.
Yes.
By the time this is a great boat. If you chamois it, you can use it the way it is. But when you start getting into a new bottom and refitting a new engine, then you get into so much of the rest of the boat that where do you stop?
Sure.
So you kind of got to go up the sides and fix this and fix that. And by the time you've done that, well, somebody put vinyl in this thing 20 years ago, and it's got a few rips and dings in it. So you'll probably put new leather in it. And at that time, you got the chrome off anyway, so you might as well. So the trouble is, when you do a new bottom, you kind of,
Yes, you see
Commit
other
to
things
the
that,
whole
yes, it might as well be done properly and completely.
and you can see here how there's something I'll point out to you. If you just walk up to the front and look back a little bit, this is something that all the boat companies did, and it's how they built boats. See this windshield bracket?
Yes,
That's a store-bought bracket. They built a windshield set you bought from the marine store. And they bolted it on the boat. But because of the crown of the deck, see this is the wrong angle?
oh,
This
of
should be
course,
straight up and down.
yes,
So
Okay.
these guys didn't have the resources available, or the customers that would pay to fix this. They screwed it on and got it out as quick as they could.
sure,
We'll fix that. That bracket will fit properly and the windshield will look proper. But that's how they built boats in a hurry.
yes, yes. And during the 30s, I guess, during the Depression, there wasn't a lot of extra money for some of
Well, no,
these.
you had to build a boat for a price, and it had to go. And if yours wasn't cheap enough, they bought the next guy.
Yes, sure,
Today they put them on a pedestal. You know what? The boats back then didn't go out the door like they go out the door this year.
yes, for sure. And
Now,
that-
we do our best to make things authentic, but if you look close, you can see how nothing really fit.
Yeah.
By the time you're finished, you got to redo everything. You just can't let it go like that.
Yes. Well, I'm sure it's going to be gorgeous when it's finished.
Oh no, this is a spectacular boat,
Yes.
a rare boat, and a very pretty boat.
Beautiful.
And I don't know, it'll be very close to the last boat he made.